Don't look at the screen. Look at the camera. Easy.
What are we talking about?
It's an update. Jesus.
I've got no script.
There is no script. Okay, so I guess that we wanted to put a video together to talk about how our construction is coming along, and we intended to do this 3 weeks ago and every weekend for the last 3 weeks. Yeah, so we've been busy for like the last, well, you've been very busy building this for the last 3 weeks, but it's just push comes to shove. It's probably going to be a raw video, but we just kind of want to show where we're up to. I guess we should just skip back 3 weekends. I've got some footage which I might just chuck in, talking about kind of laying out.
Yeah, when we laid it first out on the ground, it didn't look like it was quite high enough. I think it was originally 2.3. It's now 2.45 meters high.
It is Saturday afternoon and Andy has finished tack welding some of the joints, so we're just laying out, I'll leave that there. We're just laying out some, basically, the first sort of, I guess it's like the layout of what the structure is going to look like, and from there we've kind of worked out that, do we think it's tall enough? Might have to change it a little bit. So we think the walkway is wide enough for having 3 seats, but yeah, we're worried about headroom. So we're trying to make sure that we've got enough. Basically, you imagine that this is the floor, which is why the seats are on the back, and then obviously this is the arc with your kind of highest point up there. So we need to make sure that this is enough of a walkway so that you're not smacking into people sitting. We need to make sure that the distance between sort of when someone's sitting here, that they're not hitting their head, or this is like a small person section, and that also that basically when you're standing here you don't hit this part. There's still going to be a projector hanging off there, so we're just worried about those sort of things. But it's strange because you can change slightly the angle on this last piece down here when it comes to the ground. If we change that angle, then obviously it pushes the tent up, so more height but less width because it'll bring it in. So it's a little bit of a change, but I guess by bringing the height up it's kind of made it a little bit narrower.
Yeah, because there was a bit of movement, because the joints aren't, there's like 1/2 mil in the joints movement. It meant we could bring it in a bit and it pushed the top up a little bit, so it's got a bit more height on it now, and it works quite nicely now, to be honest.
I guess as soon as we decided that first frame for the end, you then use that as like a template for the others, because there's a frame, you can't really see it, but there's a frame there, there's a frame here, there's effectively 4 sections to make up this long, what looks like a grow house at the moment.
Unfortunately, what actually happened, I made one frame, just laid out on the ground with like tape measures and bits of wood and stuff and bricks to hold it in place. Tried to do the second frame the same way, and halfway through realised what the hell am I doing, and then decided to use the original frame as a jig to make all the others on, so they all came out exactly the same, which was a lot easier, because drilling the holes in the ground and trying to hold it in place was a nightmare.
Because I think whilst we've had a pretty decent go at working out how it's going to come together, it's very much for you kind of suck it and see when it comes to construction.
Pretty much. There's only so much you can plan.
Yeah.
Plus I've never done something this big before, so it's been fun.
For overview, I guess, like how long's the structure?
9 meters.
So it's 9 meters to the way back there. So this is 9 meters. So then last weekend we pulled the main tarp over. How big is the tarp that's over this?
I think it was like 9 meters wide, 15 meters long, so pretty large, but I know it's longer than the structure I needed, but I needed the excess tarp to make up the end caps and the doors.
Yeah, so the end, like, that will no longer be an open door, and the one that's behind the camera will no longer be an open door either. I think the tarp weight is something like 35 kilos, and dragging it over at 35 kilos was a bit of a mission. Saturday afternoon, we're about 4 weeks out from Blaze, and this is the first time that the Cinebrah structure has actually been fully put up. We've had kind of 3 sections and 2 sections and bits put together, but this is the first time the whole thing has been put up, and we've even got the screen kind of coming together as well. Sunday, and our front driveway now has a massive greenhouse. Take a look inside. Bit of a squeeze. And we're now covered. These plants are never going to see light again. That's the end of them. But effectively the structure's kind of up, and now it's a case of working out how we're going to seal it and all those sort of things.
Crease there.
Yeah.
Which I think is enough excess. We'll need to fold it over on itself to eyelet through. Although I need about that much to kind of fold over, I need about that much to fold it over and eyelet through. Yeah. Strength. As long as I just follow that crease around.
Yeah, it should be straight.
Seems to be about enough.
Yeah. What about the bottoms?
The bottoms will be tucked under.
So have we got enough? Because it's not as much.
Yeah, there should be enough there. You're fine. I thought it was going to actually come in under more.
Yeah.
But because we've changed the dimensions a bit, it's thrown it out. But I had plenty of excess to play with, so it's not a big issue. I kind of want to get the end open because it's getting warm in here. Get some airflow.
Built a big greenhouse.
I don't look from the outside.
Like a big silver, just looks white and shiny. Do you think the police are going to fly over and think we've got a drug den? Also, how do we leave our house?
Well, I'm going to be cutting the end off.
I know, I'm kidding. Jeez! Never about the dramatics, is it? Just want to spoil my joke.
This structure fills our driveway, so there's limited room around the sides. Like, you have to walk through the structure to get to our front door at the moment. There's no room down the side at all.
I can't wait for a rental inspection. From there, I guess we've also looked at some things that weren't really originally in the plan, so you can't really see, but between each of the arcs, there's also some rope tensioning. What's that for?
Rope tensioning, yeah. Kind of two things. One, to pull the frame sections together, because I haven't bolted the frame lengthways, because that would be a lot of work. And secondly, it especially in the ceiling, it stops any pulling in the spans between them. More probably going to be an issue at the top, so it should prevent that happening as well. So it's kind of a two-way thing.
And then on top of that, because we're also tensioning between the lower struts, which are kind of over here, then there's also now a piece of wood that kind of supports those in as well.
Because I'm using a tarp and it's not like a pre-made cover or anything. The only way I can kind of attach it to the frame is to fold it over the ends and tension it that way, but to bring it up under the frame and then rope it up to the frame inside. But because it's a 3 metre span, I've had to just put a wooden support in each one, so it doesn't actually bend the frame down or anything, and just hold it firm. Seems to work quite nicely actually. Yeah. When the cover's on, it actually makes the frame a lot more rigid as well.
So I guess from a structure perspective, we're getting there. Also, that's been tested is the important stuff. Like, we now have a couple of projectors thanks to
Kingsley,
who...
Did you forget his name?
No, I didn't forget his name. I was trying to pop you in the video. So yeah, we gained a couple of projectors from one of the community members, Kingsley, and that's really set the screen up really well. We've changed to a rear projection screen.
Yeah, so we were going to go front projection and support it from the ceiling until Kingsley pointed out that any vibrations in the structure would be, you know, times by 10 on the actual screen. Good point, didn't think about that. So we've gone to a rear projection instead, and that just meant finding a material that you could actually rear project through, which turned out to be a gazebo sidewall. Who'd have thought? Works really well. So the screen's made, and that's actually going to act as a kind of brace for the centre of the structure as well, a bit more strength.
Where we're sitting at the moment is actually in kind of the back end of the tent. The screen will sit in the first third, and then the cinema will be basically back there, so all the seats will be back in that section. So effectively, you're going to walk through the doorway. All of this area will be the cinema with seating and all of that, all the way through to the screen, and then behind this screen will be where like we'll host the projector. We're going for a rear projection, which is a change from our original plan, but we're going for a rear projector so that people can get up and move around and they're not in the way of the picture, and we'll basically have a clearer picture on this screen is what we're hoping. Also back here in this sort of it's really weird because you can't really see the frame, but this sort of 1/3 will be where we do editing on site, store our stuff and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, it's a really big area. We reckon we're going to get about 25 odd people in here, probably rows of, we've been looking at rows of 3, and then there's a bit of a walkway, like there's an alleyway through the middle, and then rows of 3 on one side and rows of 3 on the other side. So yeah, with a big screen, all of this to look at. The screen that we've got is about a 2 meter by 2 meter screen, obviously trying to work out whether we show an image that's square to fill it up or kind of cut it to get that 16 by 9 movie feel. We're still kind of working that out. The other thing with the rear projection is that it means if someone walks in, you won't get the head bobbing, weird like shadow stuff that goes on. So I think it's basically going to look really bright. We've run some tests on it, it looks really nice. We've run the sound as well. We've looked at some lighting options inside the tent. So basically everything's kind of progressing along quite nicely. It's just kind of taking a lot out of the time, which is why there's been limited update videos on this.
Yeah, it's a problem when you get to something like this, it's the small things that take longer.
Yeah.
Getting the frame built, although it was hard work, was actually fairly straightforward.
Yep.
But all the little fiddly bits that you didn't really plan for, like bracing in certain areas and strapping here and roping there and that. Even little things like putting pieces of cardboard between the tarp and the frame so it doesn't tear it.
So because we're losing light and this video is getting darker, what have we still got to do?
I've made the end cap for this end. I'm just about to make the doors for the far end. Then I've got to, because I'm bringing the ends of the tarp over like wagon styley, you know, yeah. Western wagon styley. So I've got to finish doing that end. I've done this end already, and then just work out a way of tensioning it all so it's all nice and tight, and then put the doors up and the walls up and just make sure I can rope all them in, and I've got all the bits of rope I need so when I get out on site so nothing's forgotten. Basically we're just putting the structure up as we would on site, so you can make sure you've got every little thing you want, and then all the spares that you probably will want as well, like bolts and a hell of a lot of gaffer tape and gorilla tape, which is like the hardcore version of gaffer tape, just in case I get any tears in the structure and I need to put extra eyelets in or something, you know, because I have no idea what the wind's going to be like. Hopefully not the gale force storm they had last week. Yep. That would be great. So I guess to wrap this up, structure is probably about 90% finished. 80% finished. I'm gonna say 80. Will we make it? There's a cliffhanger for you, who knows. And we're now moving on to, I guess, the final parts and hopefully some decoration. We've still got our carpet and flooring and that sort of stuff to find. We've still got lighting to finalise, signage, that sort of thing, but it's getting there. And this video is probably way too long. Do you want to sign it off? Yeah. Cinebrah!